The blue-white glow of Europa's ice sheets filled the viewport as Lieutenant Commander William Hayes finished his message home. His wife Olivia would be putting their daughter Abigail to bed soon. He smiled thinking of Abby's 5th birthday celebration. Planned for his return next week. "Message sent, Commander," said the communications officer. William nodded. "Thank you, Johnson." The peace of the moment shattered as alarms blared across the observation deck of the UES Sentinel. "Multiple unidentified craft emerging from hyperspace," shouted the sensor operator. 15.20.30 vessels. Configuration matches Zeller warships. William's blood ran cold. The Zeller Armada this deep in the solar system? Europa was a civilian settlement, not a military target. "Battle stations," he ordered, rushing to the command console. "Get me a direct line to Europa Colony, full evacuation protocol." The view screen showed the approaching Zeller ship's massive, angular vessels with pulsing red energy signatures. They moved with the perfect coordination that made the Zeller so deadly in combat. "Sir, they're ignoring us," said the tactical officer. "They're heading straight for the colony." "Warn them off," William ordered. "Fire warning shots if necessary. And get those civilian transports launching now." The Sentinel's weapons came to life, sending bright pulses of energy across the Zeller fleet's path. The alien ships didn't even change course. William watched the evacuation status on his screen. Only 3 transport ships had launched. There were 15,000 people on Europa, including Olivia and Abigail. "The Zeller are charging weapons," reported the tactical officer, voice shaking. "Get between them and the colony," William ordered. "Every second counts for those evacuations." The Sentinel moved to intercept, joined by 2 patrol vessels that had been stationed near Europa. Against 30 Zeller warships, it was like putting up paper shields against a flamethrower. The first Zeller energy beam cut through one patrol ship like it was nothing. The second patrol ship exploded moments later. The Sentinel shuddered as multiple impacts struck its shields. "Shields at 30%, called out the engineering officer. "We can't take another volley like that." On the view screen, William could see more civilian transports lifting off from Europa's surface. 6 now, 7, 8, not enough? Not nearly enough. "Sir, we're being hailed," said the communications officer with surprise. "Put it through." The screen flickered to show a pale, almost translucent being with large black eyes and no visible mouth. When it spoke, the words seemed to form directly. In William's mind, "Your resistance is meaningless. Your species has rejected unity. This is the consequence." The transmission cut off. William slammed his fist on the console. "Get me more power to the shields. We need to buy them more time." The Sentinel shuddered again as another barrage hit. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. "Shields failing. Hull breach on decks 3 through 5. William stared at the evacuation counter, 12 transports. Maybe 4,000 people evacuated, including his family? He had no way to know. Then the Zeller ships fired as one not at the Sentinel, but at Europa. Brilliant red beams converged on the icy surface. The colony's small shield dome held for 3 seconds before collapsing. The beams continued downward, cutting through ice and into the underground habitats. William watched in horror as fissures spread across Europa's surface, the ice cracking from the massive energy discharge. Geysers of water vapor and debris erupted into space. The colony's reactor went next, a blue-white explosion that sent shockwaves across the moon's surface. "No," William whispered. "No, no, no." The sensor operator's voice was hollow. "Colony power signature ... Gone all structures." Gone. William stood frozen, staring at the screen as Europa's surface continued to crack and shift. Somewhere down there were Olivia and Abigail. Had they felt pain? Had they known what was happening? Had they called for him? "Sir, the Zeller ships are turning toward us." William couldn't look away from Europa, couldn't process what had just happened. "Commander." "Hayes, orders!" Something inside William broke. "Evasive maneuvers, full power to engines, get us out of here." "But sir, the other transports are already dead," William said, his voice empty. "We can't help them now." The Sentinel turned and accelerated away from Europa, its damaged hull leaving a trail of debris and venting atmosphere. 3 Zeller ships followed while the others continued their methodical destruction of the remaining transports. William moved like a man sleepwalking to the damage control station. Seal off the breached sections. Get medical teams to the wounded. His voice was mechanical, disconnected. 4 days later, the badly damaged Sentinel limped into Earth orbit, one of only 3 ships to escape the Europa massacre. William had not slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Europa breaking apart, saw Olivia's face, heard Abigail's laugh. The debriefing at Earth Defense Force headquarters was a blur. William recounted everything in a monotone voice. The intelligence officers pressed him about the Zeller communication. Your species has rejected unity, repeated Admiral Carter. What do you think they meant by that? William shook his head. Does it matter? They killed 15,000 civilians. To make a point? It matters if it helps us understand their motives, said a civilian analyst. This is the closest thing to a direct communication we've had from them. They want us dead, William said flatly. That's all the motive I need to understand. After the debriefing, Admiral Carter took William aside. I'm putting you on medical. Leave Hayes 3 months minimum. With all due respect, sir, I need to get back out there. Carter's eyes softened. I've checked the transport logs. Olivia and Abigail were not among the evacuees. I'm sorry, William. William had known, but hearing it confirmed made his legs weak. Carter steadied him. Take the time, Commander. That's an order. 2 weeks later, William sat in a small apartment in Denver, surrounded by boxes he hadn't unpacked. On his tablet, he scrolled through footage of the Europa attack, frame by frame. He'd been doing this for days, barely eating, barely sleeping. Others saw only chaos in the Zeller attack. William saw patterns. The way the ships moved in perfect coordination. The precise timing of their weapon discharges. Something about it nagged at him. He stopped the footage and replayed a 5-second segment, watched it again. And again, the Zeller ships adjusted their positions 0.5 seconds before firing. All of them, simultaneously. Not like ships receiving orders, but like fingers on a hand. William sat up straighter. He played more footage. The pattern repeated. He opened a new document and began typing notes, his mind finally focusing on something. Besides grief, the Zeller weren't just coordinated. They were connected. And connections could be severed. For the first time since Europa, William felt something besides pain. It was small, just a spark, but it was hope. 6 months after the Europa attack, William Hayes stood in a small, windowless room deep inside Earth Defense Force headquarters. The walls were covered with screens showing Zeller ship movements, attack patterns, and communication data. His personal tablet contained over 200 pages of notes and theories. William had lost weight. His uniform hung loose on his frame and dark circles shadowed his eyes, but those eyes burned with purpose now. Commander Hayes, you requested this meeting, said Admiral Carter, looking concerned. I hope you've been using your leave to rest. William didn't waste time with pleasantries. I've found something, sir, a weakness in the Zeller fleet. The other officers in the room exchanged skeptical glances. The Zeller had destroyed 12 colonies and defeated Earth forces in every major battle. No one had found a weakness yet. Show. U.S., said Carter simply. William stepped to the main screen and pulled up footage from 6 different battles. Watch the Zeller ships here, here, and here, he said, pointing to specific vessels. When one ship changes course, the others adjust within half a second, not just some of them, all of them. We know they have superior communication systems, said Colonel Rivera with a shrug. It's more than that, William insisted. Look at the timing. It's too perfect. These aren't ships receiving orders and responding. They're moving as one entity. He switched to another set of footage. And here, when our forces manage to destroy this ship, watch what happens. The officers leaned forward. After the Zeller ship exploded, the surrounding enemy vessels faltered momentarily. Their perfect formation briefly disrupted. A half-second pause across the entire fleet, William said. Like the sudden loss caused a ripple effect. Admiral Carter frowned. What are you suggesting? The Zeller aren't just coordinated. They're connected possibly through some form of quantum entanglement, a hive mind. The room fell silent. Then a voice spoke from the doorway. He's right. Everyone turned. A tall woman with short gray hair and intense eyes stood there, holding a tablet. Dr. Catherine Powell, she introduced herself. Xenolinguistics Division. I've been studying Zeller communication patterns for 2 years. She walked to William's side. May I? William nodded, curious. She connected her tablet to the main screen and pulled up a series of waveform patterns. These are energy signatures we've detected during Zeller fleet movements. We thought they were weapon charging sequences, but they don't match any weapons discharge. She overlaid the patterns with William's footage. The patterns spiked exactly when the ships changed formation. It's neural activity, she continued. Similar to brainwaves, but operating on a quantum level. Commander Hayes is correct. The Zeller fleet functions as a single organism. Each ship is like a cell in a body. Admiral Carter looked between them. If that's true, it would explain their perfect coordination. But how does this help us? William met Dr. Powell's eyes, finding an unexpected ally. She nodded slightly. Every network has a central node, William said. If we can locate it and disrupt it, we could break their cohesion, finished Dr. Powell. Temporarily blind them. Carter considered this. That's a big if, and even if you're right, how do we find this central node? We can barely get close to their ships without being destroyed. We need to capture one, William said firmly. A smaller vessel, intact enough to study. Colonel Rivera laughed sharply. Capture a Zeller ship? It's suicide. Not if we use the UES Spectre, William countered. The room went quiet again. The Spectre was Earth's newest stealth vessel equipped with experimental cloaking technology. Few people even knew it existed. How do you know about the Spectre? Carter asked sharply. I have level 8 clearance, Admiral. I looked for anything that might give us an edge. Carter sighed. The Spectre is untested in actual combat. Then test it, William said, his voice intense. This could be our only chance. 3 weeks later, William stood on the bridge of the UES Spectre as it slipped through space at the edge of the Titan defense perimeter. The ship was unlike any he'd served on before, sleek, dark, and nearly silent. Its systems were designed to produce minimal energy signatures, making it almost invisible to sensors. Dr. Powell sat at a nearby console, monitoring the specialized detection equipment they'd installed. The rest of the small crew, just 12 people total, were handpicked for the mission. Zeller patrol approaching, reported Lieutenant Frank Diaz from the sensor station. 2 scout vessels, just as intelligence predicted. William nodded. Engage cloaking system. Bring us in slow. The Spectre's engines went to minimal power as the advanced cloaking field activated around the ship. William felt a slight tingling on his skin, a side effect of the technology. Targets are maintaining course, Diaz said quietly. No indication they've detected us. William moved to stand behind Dr. Powell. How close do you need to be? Within 500 meters for optimal scanning, she replied, adjusting her instruments. But we'll need physical contact to use the neural interface. The plan was daring. Get close enough to one scout ship to attach a specially designed boarding pod. A small team would enter the Zeller vessel, place quantum-linked sensors, and, if possible, capture a crew member for study. 400 meters in closing, Diaz reported. Still undetected. William watched the Zeller ships on the view screen. They were smaller than the warships he'd seen at Europa, but still alien and threatening with their angular, reddish hulls. 300 meters. William felt sweat on his forehead. If they were detected, the Spectre's experimental defenses might not hold against even scout-level weapons. 200 meters in position. Launch boarding pod, William ordered. A soft thud vibrated through the ship as the pod detached. On the screen, they watched the small craft drift toward the nearest Zeller vessel, propelled by minimal thrusters. To avoid detection, contact in 3.2.1. the pod attached to the Zeller ship's hull. No alarms, no sudden movements. "We're in," came the voice of Sergeant Alan Price through the com. "Beginning cutthroat procedure." William and Dr. Powell exchanged tense looks. The next few minutes would determine if all their planning paid off. "We're through the hull," Price reported after what seemed like an eternity. "Atmosphere is breathable." With filters proceeding inside, the minutes stretched. William paced the small bridge. "Commander," Price's voice finally came through, sounding shocked. "You need to see this. We found something ... dumb one, not Zeller, humanoid, female, and she's talking to us." William stared at Dr. Powell in surprise. "She says her people were conquered by the Zeller collective. Says there are others like her," and Sir ... Quois paused. "She says she can help us break the hive." William Hayes studied the woman sitting across from him in the Spectre's secure meeting room. Her name was Alara, and she looked almost human except for her silver-tinted skin and large violet eyes. She wore a simple gray jumpsuit provided by the crew after they had removed the neural devices attached to her body on the Zeller ship. "My people were among the first the collective absorbed," Alara explained, her voice carrying an unusual musical quality. 300 of your Earth years ago, we were peaceful explorers. We had no chance against them." Dr. Powell sat beside. "William, recording everything." "And the Zeller, they're not a single species?" Alara shook her head. "The name Zeller refers to the collective itself, not any single race. What you call Zeller ships contain beings from dozens of conquered worlds, all linked to the central consciousness." William leaned forward. "This central consciousness, what is it? Where is it?" "It began as a single entity, a highly evolved being from a distant galaxy," Alara said. "Over time it expanded by absorbing other minds. Now it exists across many forms, but its primary consciousness resides in what you would call the Sagittarius arm at a massive relay station." "How were you able to resist the link?" Dr. Powell asked. "You seem to have your own mind." A faint smile crossed Alara's face. "Some of us developed a resistance over generations. We learned to pretend compliance while keeping a portion of our minds separate. We call ourselves the Unbound. We are few, but we exist within every level of the collective." William exchanged a look with Dr. Powell. If Alara was telling the truth, this changed everything. "Can you help us fight them?" he asked directly. "That is why I allowed myself to be found," Alara said. "The collective grows stronger with each world it absorbs. Earth has shown unusual resistance. Many of the Unbound believe humans may be the key to breaking the link permanently." Back at Earth Defense Headquarters, Admiral Carter was skeptical. "She could be feeding you false information," he warned. "This could be an elaborate trap." William stood his ground. "Sir, the neural scans confirm she's not connected to the Zeller network, and the data we gathered from the scout ship supports everything she's told us." Dr. Powell pulled up a holographic display. The scout ship systems were built around this neural interface technology. It doesn't just control the ship, it connects the crew directly to the collective consciousness. "And here," she pointed to a particular section, "we found evidence of regular transmission bursts to specific coordinates. Relay points just as Alara described." Carter studied the data. "So what are you proposing?" William took a deep breath. "A targeted operation to disrupt one of these relay points. Alara says there are 7 major relays in our sector of the galaxy. If we can knock one offline, even temporarily, it would create a blind spot in their network." "With what purpose?" Carter asked. "To test the theory," William replied, "and to gather more intelligence on how the system works. Each success would give us more data, potentially leading to a way to break the entire network." 2 weeks later, William led a small team aboard the Spectre toward the closest relay point, a small artificial structure orbiting a dead moon in the Kuiper Belt. Alara had helped them modify the ship's systems to better evade Zeller detection. "We're approaching the coordinates," Lieutenant Diaz reported. "Cloaking systems at maximum." On the view screen, a strange structure came into view. It looked like a massive metallic spiderweb with a glowing red core. "That's it," Alara confirmed, from her position beside Dr. Powell, a tertiary relay. It extends the collective's consciousness to this region. William studied the structure. I don't see any weapons or defensive systems. It doesn't need them, Ilara explained. No one has ever attacked one before. The collective doesn't expect resistance from within. Their plan was to attach a specialized device to the relay, one that would temporarily scramble its signals without alerting the collective to tampering. Dr. Powell had designed it based on Ilara's knowledge and the technology from the scout ship. Preparing to launch the delivery probe, announced Sergeant Price from the tactical station. William nodded. Remember, we get one shot at this. If the relay detects us and alerts the collective, we'll have every Zeller ship in the sector on us within minutes. The probe launched silently from the Spectre, drifting toward the relay structure. Everyone on the bridge held their breath as it approached the glowing core. Contact in 5 seconds, Price counted down. 4.3. The probe attached to the relay. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the red glow flickered, dimmed, and changed to a purple hue. It's working, Dr. Powell exclaimed, watching the readings on her console. The scrambler is disrupting the signal pattern. William turned to Ilara. How long until the collective notices? Minutes, perhaps, she said. But by then, alarms suddenly blared across the bridge. Multiple hyperspace signatures. Diaz shouted, 5 Zeller warships incoming. William's mind raced. They must have failsafes we didn't know about. Prepare for emergency jump. As the Spectre turned to flee, William noticed something strange on the tactical display. The incoming Zeller ships weren't moving with their usual perfect coordination. Their formations were ragged, almost confused. Look at them, he said, pointing to the screen. They're disorganized. Dr. Powell studied her readings. The relay disruption is affecting them more than we anticipated. Their neural network is partially severed in this region. William made a split-second decision. Change of plans. Diaz, bring us around behind the largest ship. Price, arm the prototype EMP weapons. Sir? Price questioned. Those are untested, so is everything else we're doing, William replied firmly. If the ships are already struggling with coordination, a localized MP might disable them completely. The Spectre swung around, using the relay structure as cover. The Zeller ships fired, but their shots went wide, missing by unusual margins. EMP weapons charged, Price reported. Target the lead ship and fire, ordered William, the weapon discharged, sending an invisible pulse toward the largest Zeller vessel. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the ship's lights flickered and went dark. It drifted, powerless. It worked, Price exclaimed. Target the next ship, William ordered. One by one, they disabled 3 of the 5 Zeller vessels before. The remaining 2 retreated into hyperspace. Back on Earth, the successful mission changed everything. The data they collected proved William's theory and demonstrated that the Zeller could be vulnerable. For the first time since the war began, humanity had won a clear victory. Admiral Carter authorized the formation of a special task force under William's command. Their mission: conduct similar operations throughout the solar system and beyond, gradually weakening the Zeller network, while gathering intelligence for a potential master stroke against the collective itself. As William reviewed plans for their next mission, Dr. Powell entered his office. We've decoded more of the data from the disabled ships, she said, her expression troubled. There's something you need to see. She placed her tablet on his desk. On it was a partial message intercepted from deep within the Zeller network. William read it and felt a chill run down his spine. The message was fragmented but clear enough. Human neural patterns ... compatible ... highest priority acquisition. William Hayes ... The collective wasn't just trying to conquer Earth anymore. It was looking specifically for him. 3 months after their first victory, William and his team had successfully disrupted 6 more Zeller relay stations. Each mission provided more data about the collective and its weaknesses. Earth forces had begun to win small battles using the team's findings, and for the first time in years, humanity dared to hope, but William grew increasingly troubled by the collective's interest in him. During their last mission, they had barely escaped a trap clearly designed to capture him alive. "They're adapting to our tactics," William told Dr. Powell as they reviewed data in the Spectre's lab. "And they're focusing too much attention on me personally?" Catherine, as he now called her, looked up from her work. Over the past months, their professional relationship had deepened into friendship and something more, though neither had spoken of it. "The question is why," she said. "Why you specifically?" Ilara entered the lab, carrying a tablet. She had become an essential part of the team, her knowledge of the collective proving invaluable. "I may have found an answer," she said, placing the tablet on the table. "I've been analyzing the neural patterns we've collected from disabled Zeller ships. The collective is searching for a specific type of human brain structure, one that can withstand integration without losing individuality." William frowned. "Like your people, the Unbound?" "Similar, but different," Ilara explained. The Unbound developed resistance over generations. What the collective seeks is a natural compatibility, a mind that could potentially join the network while maintaining its separate identity. Catherine looked at William with sudden understanding. "And they think William has this compatibility?" Ilara nodded. "Based on the data, yes. Something about your neural patterns caught their attention." William stood and paced the small lab. "So I'm not just a target because I've been fighting them. They want my mind." "This could be an advantage," Catherine said thoughtfully. "If we could understand why your brain is different." An alarm cut her off. Lieutenant Diaz's voice came over the comm. "Commander Hayes to the bridge. We've intercepted an emergency transmission from Earth." When William reached the bridge, a grim message played on the main screen. Admiral Carter's face appeared, background filled with smoke and flashing lights. "Hayes, if you receive this, our forces have launched a major offensive. 30 capital ships breached our outer defenses. They're targeting military installations and relay disruption facilities. It's a coordinated attack unlike anything we've seen. They've adapted to our new defenses somehow. We need immediate." The transmission cut off abruptly. "When was this sent?" William demanded. 43 minutes ago, Diaz reported. "We were in the shadow of the gas giant. Communications were limited." William's mind raced. The Spectre was 3 days from Earth at maximum speed. "Set course for Earth, emergency speed," he ordered, "and get me any updates on the situation there." As the Spectre hurried back to Earth, fragmented reports painted a dire picture. The Zeller attack had been precisely targeted at facilities researching relay disruption technology. The collective had adapted faster than anyone expected. When they finally reached Earth orbit, they found devastation. Parts of the planet's defense network lay in ruins. The space around Earth was littered with debris from destroyed ships. "Take us down to headquarters," William ordered. They landed at what remained of Earth Defense Force headquarters. Half the complex was destroyed. Emergency crews still working to extinguish fires and rescue survivors. Admiral Carter met them in a makeshift command center underground. His arm was in a sling, his face covered with cuts. "Hayes," he said grimly. "Good to see you alive. We weren't sure if they'd gotten to you too." "What happened?" William asked. "They knew exactly where to hit us," Carter replied. "Every research facility working on the relay disruption technology simultaneously. They adapted to our tactics. Strengthened their relay stations." He paused. "But that's not the worst part." Carter led them to a secure room where screens showed footage from the attack. "Watch this," he said, pointing to one screen showing a Zeller ship unlike any they had seen before, smaller, more streamlined. "We managed to capture this footage before the Sydney facility was destroyed," Carter explained. "Look at the being that emerged from that ship." William stared at the screen. The figure walking from the Zeller vessel was humanoid, moving with military precision. As it turned toward the camera, William felt a chill run through his body. The face was human, a perfect copy of his own. "What is this?" he whispered. Elara stepped forward, her expression grave. "A proxy." The collective has created a physical vessel based on your neural patterns. It's an attempt to replicate what they believe makes you special. Can they do that? Catherine asked. Create copies of people? Not copies, Ilara clarified. The body is artificial, but it would contain a fragment of the collective consciousness, shaped to mimic William's thought patterns. William couldn't look away from the screen, from his own face staring back with cold, alien eyes. Why? He asked. Why go to this length? To understand you, Ilara said simply, and through you to understand humanity's resistance. In the days that followed, William worked with Earth's remaining scientists to analyze all the data they had gathered. The picture that emerged was both frightening and hopeful. The collective is worried, Catherine told the assembled military leaders. These extreme measures, the coordinated attack, creating a proxy of William, they show fear. We've hurt them with the relay disruptions more than we realized, but they've adapted now, Carter pointed out. The relay stations are better defended, and we've lost most of our research facilities. William stood up. Then we need to strike at something they can't defend, the central node itself. The room fell silent, the primary relay in the Sagittarius arm. Carter asked incredulously. That's over 2,000 light-years from here, deep in Zeller territory. Yes, William confirmed. According to Ilara, it's the nexus point for the entire network. If we could disrupt it, even briefly, it would sever the connection to all subsidiary nodes, Ilara finished. The entire collective would be fragmented, at least temporarily. It's suicide, Carter said flatly. No ship could get that deep into their territory. The Spectre could, William argued. With Ilara's knowledge and the data we've gathered, we could modify it to pass as a Zeller vessel. Catherine stood beside him. And I've been developing a more powerful version of our disruption technology. Instead of just scrambling the signal, it could potentially sever the connections completely. Carter looked between them. Even if you could reach it, what then? The moment you attack the central node, you'll have the entire collective bearing down on you. William met his gaze steadily. I know, that's why I'll go alone. No, Catherine said immediately. It makes sense, William insisted. The collective wants me. If I'm captured, my neural patterns might be what they need to understand humanity better. But they might also be what allows me to resist complete absorption long enough to deploy Catherine's device. He looked around the room. One ship, one person. Minimal risk to Earth, maximum chance of success. It's still practically a suicide mission, Carter said, but his tone had changed. He was considering it. William thought of Europa, of Olivia, and Abigail, of all that had been lost. Maybe, he admitted. But if it works, it ends the war. And right now, that's worth any risk. William stood alone on the bridge of the modified UES Spectre as it emerged from its final hyperspace jump. The ship now looked like a Zeller vessel from the outside, its hull reconfigured with technology from captured enemy ships. He had insisted on making this final journey alone, but he hadn't truly been alone. Final approach to the central relay station, he said to himself, though he knew Catherine and the others were listening through the quantum link. The connection was one way. They could hear him, but couldn't respond without risking detection. On the view screen, William saw his target. Unlike the smaller relay points they had disrupted before, the central node was enormous, a massive structure shaped like a glowing red star with dozens of crystalline arms extending outward. It orbited a dead planet in a system with no name. Just coordinates in the vast emptiness of space. Beginning approach sequence, William continued, inputting the codes Ilara had provided. Transmitting Zeller identification signals now. The past 3 weeks had been a blur of preparation. Catherine and her team had worked day and night to perfect the disruption, devise a complex piece of technology designed to sever the neural connections throughout the entire collective network. It now sat in a special compartment ready for deployment. Ilara had trained William extensively on Zeller protocols and how to pilot the ship like a true collective vessel. More importantly, she had taught him mental techniques to resist the collective's influence if he was captured. Identification signals accepted, William reported as lights on his console turned green. They're guiding me to a docking port. The plan was simple in concept, nearly impossible in execution. Get close enough to deploy the disruption device, then escape in the confusion that would follow. If captured, resist long enough to activate the device manually. William felt surprisingly calm as the massive structure grew larger on his screen. He thought of Olivia and Abigail, of Europa breaking apart, of Catherine's face when he had left, trying to be brave. "I'm being scanned," he reported as energy beings swept over the ship. "More intensely than we expected. They might detect the modifications." William's hands flew over the controls, adjusting systems to mask the human technology. For a moment, the scan intensified, and warning lights flashed on his console. Then suddenly they returned to green, scan complete. "They're still guiding me in?" The Spectre approached one of the structure's massive arms. Up close, William could see that what had looked like a solid crystalline surface was actually a complex lattice containing thousands of smaller chambers and conduits, all pulsing with the same red energy. "Docking in 30 seconds, he said. "Preparing disruption device for remote deployment." His fingers activated the sequence that would launch the device at the perfect moment. When the ship was closest to the node's core but before actual docking completed. 20 seconds. William's mind filled with memories, not just of what he had lost, but of what he had found, purpose, hope, and unexpectedly, love again in Catherine. 10 seconds, a sudden alarm blared through the ship. On his screen, a message appeared in Zeller symbols. "Anomaly detected, security protocols activated." "They've made me," William said quickly. "Deploying device now." He slammed his hand on the launch control. Nothing happened. The device remained locked in its compartment, the launch system frozen, launch systems jammed. They must be using some kind of blocking field. The ship shuddered as a tractor beam locked onto it, pulling it toward a different section of the structure, a heavily fortified area that had to be security. William made a split-second decision. Going to Plan B? He rushed to the compartment holding the disruption device and manually released it. The device, about the size of a small backpack, contained the quantum technology that Catherine had developed. It was designed to link with the central node and send a cascading disruption signal through the entire network. William attached it to his suit and moved to the airlock. If he couldn't launch it from the ship, he would deliver it personally. "Bypassing airlock safety protocols," he reported. "I'm going outside." The inner door sealed behind him as the outer door opened to space. William activated his suit's magnetic boots and thrusters, pushing away from the ship toward the glowing red core visible through the lattice structure. The disruption device needs to be within 100 meters of the core to work properly, he reminded himself and anyone listening. "I'm at approximately 300 meters now." He navigated through the lattice, using his thrusters in short bursts. The structure was even more complex up close, like a three-dimensional maze of glowing red pathways. 200 meters to target. Suddenly, small objects detached from the structure security drones, moving rapidly toward him. William increased his thruster output, pushing harder toward the core. Security drones incoming. 150 meters to target. The first drone fired, a beam of energy passing just over William's shoulder. He dodged, using the lattice structure as cover while continuing toward the core, 120 meters. Another beam hit his leg, spinning him around. William gritted his teeth against the pain and stabilized himself. 100 meters. "I'm in range." He reached for the device controls just as another beam struck his arm. His fingers fumbled with the activation sequence. Almost there. A final drone appeared directly in front of him. Before it could fire, William hurled himself forward, passing through a gap in the lattice and into an open area surrounding the core. The core itself was a pulsing sphere of red energy about 10 meters across. Up close, it seemed almost alive, patterns of light moving across its surface like thoughts across a brain. "I'm at the core," William said, his voice tight with pain. "Activating device now." He pressed the final sequence. The device hummed to life, connecting with the core. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then William felt it, a presence in his mind, vast and alien. The collective had found him. "They're trying to link with my mind," he gasped. Just like Alara warned, the presence pushed harder, trying to break through his mental defenses. William used the techniques Alara had taught him, creating barriers in his mind. "The device needs 30 more seconds to complete the sequence," he said through gritted teeth. The presence became stronger, fragments of alien thoughts leaking through his defenses. But mixed with them were human thoughts, two echoes of millions of minds absorbed into the collective over centuries. 20 seconds. William felt his barriers weakening. The presence was overwhelming, ancient, and powerful. But as it pushed deeper into his mind, he sensed something unexpected: confusion. His mind wasn't working the way the collective expected. 10 seconds. With sudden clarity, William realized why the collective had been so interested in him. His grief, the trauma of losing everything on Europa, had rewired his brain in ways the collective couldn't understand or predict. 5 seconds. William stopped fighting. Instead, he opened his mind to his memories of Olivia and Abigail, of Earth, of humanity's struggle. Of Catherine. The device beeped once, signaling completion. The core's red glow flickered, then began changing to blue. "It's working," William whispered. A wave of energy pulsed outward from the core, passing through William and continuing outward through the structure. The red glow throughout the lattice flickered and changed, following the wave. The presence in William's mind screamed, not in pain, but in shock, as connections severed across the galaxy. For one brief moment, William felt the entirety of the collective network. Billions of minds suddenly cut off from central control. Then the wave reached the outer edges of the structure, and the presence vanished from his mind. William floated in silence, watching as the now blue core stabilized. Throughout the structure, confused Zeller drones drifted aimlessly, their controlling intelligence gone. "It's done," he said into his calm. "The network is broken." He didn't know if Catherine could hear him, didn't know if he would make it back. But as he activated his thrusters to begin the long journey back to his ship, William Hayes felt at peace. He had lost everything to this war, and now he had ended it.